So I've been an institute teacher for the last 20 years, and about a decade ago, I began teaching at the Stanford Institute as a volunteer teacher and then became the volunteer director. And my students came to me with lots of hard questions, much different than any other place I had taught. And as a result, we became very serious about digging deeply into the research that had been done to answer these hard questions. And there's answers everywhere. And my husband said, let's formulate a class for this. And so between the Institute and the stake, we were able to get a class on hard questions in church history. And at the same time as we were doing this, I'm getting calls from family members and friends around the world who really are struggling with faith crises. And it was breaking our hearts to see these good people who didn't know where to go for the answers. And I heard the words of Isaiah, and I could hear these prophecies being fulfilled in my mind, that the very elect were being deceived. And they were not knowing where to go to get the right answer, because this generation requires answers from Google instead of answers from the normal sources. And I saw this repeatedly over and over, that people would ask me these questions, and I had all the resources in my fingertips, but they didn't have them in their fingertips, and they were going to sources that were not accurate. So I'm having dinner with Jack Welch in Utah when we went out for a conference, and I said, Jack, we have a need, and you know more about the Book of Mormon than anyone alive. We lost Hugh Nibley years ago, and now it's you, and we need your expertise online. I need everything you know about the Book of Mormon in one exhaustive concordance of a Book of Mormon site online. And he said, we need more than that. We need more than just the hard questions answered. We need something to stimulate testimony and something to excite people about getting into their Book of Mormon study. And we also need a text that can be accessible in a way that we don't have online, where we can use the technology and what's available to see maps and history and family charts and be able to go back and forth. We need more than just the hard questions answered, Lynn. And so we got out a piece of paper and we wrote out a 3-pronged vision of Book of Mormon Central and what it could be. And I took that napkin the next Sunday back in California to one of my bishops. He was serving in that time in the singles ward. His name is Jay Verkler. He was the one that the church had hired to do New Family Search. And I sat down with him in his office, in the bishop's office, and said, I want to start a website with all the accurate scholarship on the Book of Mormon so that people can know this is a trusted source. And it's not sponsored by the church, it's sponsored by scholars. And Jay Verkler said, it's about time. We needed this 3 years ago. And I said, Jay, can you help me? And he got out a piece of paper and wrote out what we needed and what was going to be required financially and what kind of genius minds we needed to get. And here I am in the middle of Silicon Valley with all these Stanford graduates coming out asking me where they should go to work, as well as having Jack Welch's pull from Brigham Young University and his contacts over the last 50 years of research. And we had the heavens open and people came through the walls and we were able to get the help we needed. And in my mind, the miracle is in the timing, where the Lord put people in our place, like Kirk Magleby. With Jack's team on board and the funding that I was able to arrange here in the Bay Area, we were able to get a start in a very short amount of time. And according to Jay Verkler's plan, we should have had plenty of money to survive on for quite a while. But Kirk Magleby had another idea, and he had this desire to take it into other languages. Well, I was on top of that immediately because I've lived in 4 countries. I'm well aware of the dearth of information in other languages, and there is a void that needs to be filled. And if we can take that through a digital world to a Spanish community, and perhaps later in the future adding in Portuguese or French or German, but my heart said, this is worth expanding. And then the idea of the app, as our digital world is changing, and when people now are moving in that direction, we have got to have these other resources to stay up with the times. And it is expanding beyond the needs that Jay Verkler initially said that I would need financially. And I'm thrilled that generous Latter-day Saints have chosen to live the law of consecration and opened their pockets and helped in the work. because this is the work of building the kingdom of God. This, I think, is what is required to remove us from the curse that is on us for not taking the Book of Mormon seriously enough, where Joseph was condemned, where President Benson reminded us that the condemnation had not been lifted. I feel like people like Jack Welch and Kurt Magleby and hundreds of others, my colleagues at Brigham Young University in the religion department, my colleagues at the Institute program of the church, these people have been adding to the scholarship on the Book of Mormon, but it needs to be more accessible. We need to be able to have it at the click of a fingertip, and to get it as the first sites that people will go to, or at least a trusted site that people will go to, is our aim and goal in Book of Mormon Central.